Hi, and welcome to my technical analysis on Visa. I will provide insights and trading strategies that I personally use in order to trade the stock. And I don't want to babble around much, so let's just get started with the analysis. Okay, now we're in a 5-year weekly chart of Visa, and this is always very important to get the bird's eye view of what the stock is actually doing. And it doesn't really matter if you're trading short-term, medium-term, or long-term in the stock. You always want to keep an eye on what the stock is doing overall. And as you can see in the chart, Visa is actually in an upward trend since, pretty much forever. Always keep that in mind. So be careful, for example, if you want to short the stock, that the upward trend is still intact. So don't overdo it in this case. However, we also notice that Visa has been in a consolidation phase since they hit their all-time high of 250 over here in summer of 2021. And since then, they haven't really gone too far. They came down to 175 approximately, but they rebounded in the last few weeks to reach the 240 mark at the moment. So that's the big picture. So let's look at the stock in the daily chart. And as you can see here, I included Fibonacci retracements to figure out certain price levels that could potentially be interesting for us to trade or for me to trade. At the moment, the stock is at an interesting level actually, this 215 level, which is also a support level at the moment. So the stock might rebound. So if you dare to buy stocks at the moment with all of the banking crisis going on in the background, you could try to buy Visa at 215, 214 in this price range and maybe sell it again at this 223 range. So this certainly would be a short-term trade. If you look at the stock more on a midterm level, I would love to see the stock fall down even further to this range because we have the 200-day moving average, which is at 207. And we also have an interesting Fibonacci retracement at 205. So if the stock would move down to this range between these two numbers, that would be a nice opportunity to buy the stock. But what I would prefer even more is if the stock would fall even further to this 195 range. And that would really be great because this has been really strong support in the past. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So this price range has been support 5 times actually, as you can see here with these beautiful circles. So if the stock would fall to this range, I would definitely consider buying the stock to trade it for the midterm or even the long term potentially. But in the long run, what I'm really looking out for is by looking at the MACD and relative strength index. What I like to trade is if the company breaches the 30-point line in the RSI. So for example, the last time it happened was over here. And simultaneously, what I'm looking for is when the MACD line is crossing upwards for the first time after the RSI index has been breached. So this would be this point right here. And this would have been an excellent trading setup, in my opinion, to go long in the stock, even though the stock went down over here a bit. But it wouldn't have really mattered because when I'm looking for these kind of setups, I want to really trade the stock for the long term. So these are trades that are sort of for my retirement. So I would hold these positions for 40, 50 years potentially, if nothing too bad happens to the company. And it seems like we might actually see this. So we have the RSI, which is pretty low over here. So we're getting close to the 30-point mark. And we're also looking at an RSI that has the potential to make a crossover. So I'm definitely putting this stock on my watch list. In summary, this means that for the next days and weeks, I may be looking into buying the stock right here to make a short-term trade up to like 225, for example. But I don't think I'm really interested in that trade. I would rather wait for the stock to fall to a range between 207 and 205 to make a midterm trade. Or for the longer term, I'm looking into this 195 region. And for my retirement, I'm looking for the RSI to dip below 30 and for the MACD to make a crossover, which in my opinion is actually a reasonable scenario as we face some downside potential in the market with all of the banking actions taking place with SVB and all of the other banking companies that are short in liquidity. that could potentially push the market down further in the next few days and maybe even weeks. And then we also have the looming recession. Yeah, so let's wait and see if we can actually buy Visa at reasonable prices. And that's all for today. I hope you liked my analysis and see you next time. Bye.